Well, why don't we move on to Beauty and the Beast? Because I really want to spend some time talking about Drake, but I also don't want this podcast to be like 4 hours long.
Good point.
So Beauty and the Beast, I went to go see it this weekend, and it was sold out every theater I tried to go to.
Trying to be about that content, stay up on your films, and you were denied.
Man, I mean, I think I get a little bit of a pass just because I've been trying to keep up on so many shows, but I did feel very bad that I wasn't going to be able to talk about this on the pod. But regardless of me giving money to Beauty and the Beast, we made a ton of money this weekend. Yeah. 170 million stateside. I think it was more than
174, I believe.
174.
350-ish global. It just crossed over into being the 6th best debut domestically of all time.
And it was the number 1 pre-sale for a family movie on Fandango ever, beating Finding Dory.
Yeah, it's the biggest ever opening for a PG title.
Crazy.
In last year, that was Finding Dory, and also has the overseas record for that. So that's a huge deal. But I actually thought was even more interesting is that, well, it's also the second biggest debut ever that's not from the summer, only behind The Force Awakens, obviously a December release. Mm-hmm. But about the actual figures of who went and saw this, 40% of the audience was male, and nearly half of the audience were adults and teens.
Which is nostalgia.
And that's unheard of for a PG film.
Yeah.
So that's great, and those numbers came right from Disney.
Well, pretty much everybody I talked to that's around our age or even a little bit older, so that they went, especially if they were female, they were like sitting there like with like their mouths open, like looking
the
just
tale
excited.
of all this time. Yeah.
Pumped. I mean, I was gonna go with my girlfriend, and she was more disappointed than I was that we weren't gonna see it. 'Cause she was so set on seeing it.
I didn't actually realize this, but May 2016, when the teaser trailer for Beauty and the Beast was dropped, it got 91.8 million views in the first 24 hours, which is the record for a teaser trailer. That's more than Force Awakens got. I had no idea it was the most watched trailer ever.
I mean, this story, I think, it just captures a point in time for the people that take in media the way that we do, online, through YouTube. And it's also the kind of thing where not only does it's a story that kids can go see and still connect with, obviously.
Yeah.
But for people our age, they ride hard for it. But then they also connect with their parents around it because their parents probably brought them to see it when they were little. So there's a whole, I mean...
Or got them the VHS in my case.
And probably wore it out for a lot of people. And it got a lot of positive reviews, too, which is...
It did, yeah.
Driving some sales.
Yeah, no, the reviews were positive, but the negative critiques were actually kind of consistent. It was kind of that they said the film was either lifeless or didn't take any risks, and it was just kind of a by-the-numbers live-action version with a few updated themes. And honestly, that's kind of what I wanted. Right. I think Disney is wise to play these live-action remakes safe because people are there for the nostalgia to revisit the story.
Right.
And I think, honestly, especially with Beauty and the Beast, something that's really tied to nostalgia for older millennials, they'd probably take offense to that if they were a little wonky with the storytelling or the filmmaking, whatever it was.
And I would actually say that they did kind of take a risk in not casting leads with necessarily amazing singing talent, because that's really what makes a lot of those old Disney movies so amazing, was they had Broadway level talent singing these songs.
Absolutely.
And the songs are amazing. I mean, Emma Watson, I haven't seen it, but on one of the trailers there's a part where she sings in the original animated film, and she doesn't sing the part in that one, and I know for some of the people I've talked to about it, they've said, I hope that her singing can live up to it, because if not, it kind of takes away from it. So I guess this is probably maybe a good point to jump in. What was your experience with the movie? Was it as good as you expected?
Yeah, no, I thought it was really great. I thought Emma Watson's singing was totally fine.
Great.
I'd say it was good. It wasn't spectacular singing, obviously. Similar to how Emma Stone in La La Land.
I was gonna ask.
Not spectacular singing, but it doesn't take away from the movie. A few reviews for La La Land, a few reviews of Beauty and the Beast were saying that the singing was an issue for them, but honestly, I think all things considered, it's not a huge deal.
Right.
And Be Our Guest and the opening song Belle, they're great, and I think there's no disservice to the music. And Emma Watson, she's fine. I mean, is she the most vibrant Belle possible? No, but she's totally fine, and I think she's good at that, and she definitely looks the part. So,
I guess one of the questions I had was how because there's so many moving parts with it, and obviously we saw the Jungle Book, but
Yeah.
we've seen how animals move, and it's kind of easier to
Sure.
make the animatronic part of it or the CGI part of it.
Yeah.
How are the effects in terms of like getting a teacup to talk, getting a
Sure.
clock to talk,
Yeah.
things like that?
That also kind of goes into some of the critiques where that visually it almost seems less lifelike than the animated one.
Okay.
Because I guess like Cogsworth and Lumiere and Mrs. Potts, they look almost too real.
Okay.
And I didn't see that problem. That's just a critique I saw being floated around there.
Hmm.
I thought they were fine. Obviously, they got great voice talent for these very small roles.
Amazing.
Ewan McGregor, you'd have no idea it was him being Lumiere until
Right.
he becomes a real person at the end.
That's
also,
awesome.
spoilers for Beauty and the Beast if you live under a rock. But yeah, no, like again, you have to critique Beauty and the Beast in the right lens. What we always say, right? You review a superhero movie, it's a superhero movie. A comedy is a comedy.
Right.
Oscar bait is Oscar bait. Disney live action film remakes need their own lens.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I actually didn't realize this, but Emma Watson turned down the 2015 Cinderella role because she doesn't like Cinderella as a character. Belle, obviously, a very strong female character.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I think they even make her stronger. And a few things I did like about this version was that there's some extra exposition. They fill out the backstory of Belle's mother that's not in the movie, and her dad Maurice, and also some information about the Beast's family. And
that's cool.
And also, there's a few extra scenes that kind of make the growing romance between Belle and the Beast more believable. Because if you go back and watch the animated film, it is kind of abrupt. So I think
I actually did watch the animated film this past week.
I was YouTubing some scenes.
That was one of the things I was kind of looking at. I was like, I don't know if this makes total sense.
Right.
But
Just total Stockholm syndrome in
yeah,
the animated film.
exactly. But I mean, it is what it is. So they actually fleshed that out a little bit more,
Yes,
give them a little
absolutely.
more background, which is really important for movies, especially nowadays. That's a huge critique: is there's no backstory or this doesn't make sense.
Right. Yeah.
So that's huge. What was it like to sit in a theater and watch a gay character in 2017?
Exclusively gay moments.
Yeah.
Honestly, that is the most overblown thing ever. LeFou has the smallest gay moment. It's not even that. He just dances with a man.
Right, and
puts his arms around Gaston once. Big
yeah,
deal.
and pretty much in
He's mildly effeminate in his delivery the whole time. He's still a doofy character.
And even
nothing's changed.
Watching the animated film back, he's kind of just obsessed with Gaston anyway.
Yeah.
So it's not really that much of a stretch. Just another.
But Josh Gad as LeFou and Luke Evans as Gaston were good, I think.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Was there any part that you came away being like, they could have done that better, or this really didn't hit with me?
I mean, no, because looking back on the original film, it's not a long movie, and again, it moves at a pretty brisk pace.
Yep.
And this movie added extra scenes where it could in a bunch of different areas. There's an extra scene with Maurice and Gaston, which was cool. There's a few extra little numbers as well. So yeah, and there's also a few extra characters from the castle. Right. So I think it fleshed it out as good as it possibly could. Again, the critiques that it didn't take any risks don't make sense to me because things were changed and updated. And again, like given that the way the story is, I don't know what else you could have wanted.
Yeah.